पूर्णाय निवृतात्मने स्वर्गापवर्गद्वाराय नित्यं शुचि सदे नमः। नमः हिरण्यवीर्याय चातुर्होत्राय तान्तवे। नारायण नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Okay, so it's the second canto. Sorry, first canto. Sorry, canto second chapter, verse 20. Please repeat after me. Nabhyam stitam hridi adiropya tasmad.
Nabhyam stitam hridi adiropya tasmad.
Udana gatyo rasitam nayen muni.
Udana gatyo rasitam nayen muni.
Tathonusandhyaya diya manasvi.
Tathonusandhaya dhiya manasvi.
Swatalumulam shanakernayeta.
Swatalumulam shanakernayeta.
Anyone please.
Nabhyam stitam hridi adiropya tasmad.
Nabhyam stitam hridi adiropya tasmad.
Udanagatyo rasitam nayen muni.
Udanagatyo rasitam nayen muni.
Tathonusandhaya dhiya manasvi.
Tathonusandhaya diya manasvi.
Swatalumulam shanakairnayeta.
Swatalumulam shanakernayeta. Anyone else, Prabhus?
Nabhyam stitam hridi adiropya tasmat.
Nabhyam stitam hridi adiropya tasmad.
Udanagatyo rasitam nayen munihi.
Udanagatyo rasitam nayen munihi.
Tathonusandhaya diya manasvi.
Tathonusandhaya diya manasvi.
Swatalumulam shanakernayeta.
Swatalumulam sanakernayeta. Anyone else from the Prabhu side?
Nabhyam stitam hridi adiropya tasmad.
Nabhyam stitam hridi adiropya tasmad.
Udanagatyo rasitam nayen munihi.
Udanagatyo rasitam nayen munihi.
Tato anusandhaya dhiya manasvi.
Tathonusandhyaya diya manasvi.
Swatalumulam shanakernayeta.
Swatalumulam sanakernayeta. Mothers? Anyone? Nabhyam stitam hridi adiropya tasmad. Udanagatyo rasitam nayen munihi. Tathonusandhyaya diya manasvi. Swatalumulam sanakernayeta. Anyone else? Okay. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. The meditative devotee should slowly push up the life air from the navel to the heart, from there to the chest, and from there to the root of the palate. He should search out the proper places with intelligence. So, please repeat after me. Translation. The meditative devotee should slowly push up the life air from the navel to the heart, and from there to the chest, and from there to the root of the palate. He should search out the proper places with intelligence. Purport by His Divine Grace. There are 6 circles of the movement of life air and the intelligent bhakti yogi should search out these places with intelligence and in a meditative mood. Among these, mentioned above is the Swadhisthana chakra, or the powerhouse of the life air, and above this, just below the abdomen and navel, is the Manipuraka chakra. When upper space is further searched out in the heart, one reaches the Anahata chakra, and further up, when the life air is placed at the root of the palate, one reaches the Vishuddhi chakra. Hare Krishna, thank you very much for having me here and giving me an opportunity to share. So we'll try and see how we can serve the devotees here. I'm very, very happy to be here. Very thrilled, especially with the 7 o'clock Aarti. It was quite a surprise. So this verse practically talks about the process of yoga, specifically the process of Ashtanga yoga. So the 8 steps of Ashtanga yoga start with yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. 8 steps. Now, the first step of yama is to follow the strictures of society, such as the moral code of society. Whatever code a certain society brings about, at least the person who is wanting to pursue yoga should be able to follow the moral code established by society. That's yama. The aspirant, for further advancement, the next step is for him to follow specific regulative principles, niyama, rules and regulations. The third step, if one is situated after following the rules of society, which is the ethics, the basic morals, and then follows the rules and regulations of sadhana, then one begins the process of yoga, which is the Hatha Yoga that we see around the world today. The different postures of Hatha Yoga. It begins after one is fully recognizing the rules and regulations and then begins following rules and regulations. It is not meant for people in general who do not follow any rules and regulations. It causes confusion, and we will talk about it. So the third step of asana practically allows the devotee to be able to remain still for a prolonged period of time. Because the meditative process of yoga requires being able to sit still for long times. And the asana basically facilitates that. So they have to practice asana so that they can sit in different asanas, and the different postures of the asanas also allow for certain benefits. We will talk about that. When one has practiced asana nicely and has mastered asana, which is yogasana, then one learns pranayama to control their breath. The control of breath, pranayama, comes after asana. And what is it which is achieved by pranayama? What is not clearly known is that our being alive and being on this planet is limited. And the limitation, it is imposed upon us when we are born by the number of inward and outward breaths that we take. How many inward and outward breaths a single person can take when they are born is fixed. It is fixed. So when we inhale, it's a count of 1, exhale, count of 1. This is fixed when we are born, that this is the entire number that this person is going to have. So when one practices pranayama, the yogi is able to prolong his life or her life because they are able to breathe very efficiently, and with a single breath they can exist without breathing in again for a long period of time. So their lifespan increases and gives them time to complete sadhana. So they get to complete their sadhana because they extend how much time they have between one breath to the other. Pranayama is very important. And what is achieved by pranayama? What is achieved by these 4 steps? Ultimately, the 5th step is the goal of the previous 4. The 5th step which is achieved is called pratyahara, which is control of senses. Sense control is achieved after 4 steps, which involves pranayama, which involves yoga, which involves following rules and regulations. Ultimately, they want to control and have complete control over the senses. The senses are so powerful that they want to control the senses. This is pratyahara. The pratyahara process of controlling the senses allows them to go to the 6th stage, which is called dharana. Dharana means concentration. To concentrate. So once you control your senses, once you're able to maintain a long period of postures and your breathing process is controlled, then concentration occurs, dharana. Then the 7th step is called dhyana. Dhyana is literally meditation. Meditating on the form of the Lord within the heart. And when the meditation process is very intense, and the meditation process results in the soul, which is us, being in the presence of the Lord, observing Him at all times, and receiving mercy by completely meditating on His extraordinary features, then the soul is said to be in samadhi, trance. This is the 8th stage. So these are the 8 stages of Ashtanga Yoga, and then what is being described here is one process, one step. Okay, so now what is described here is just one step. Now what happens here is that there's a description of the subtle body, and everybody has heard of the different chakras. Prabhu, should I go a little slow, or how should we do it? Is it better? Should I just continue at my will? Yeah? Okay, so freely. Good. So there are chakras in the body, which is being mentioned here. These are circles. So the Muladhara is the root chakra. You know, we hear the expression, someone is well rooted, someone is very stable, someone is well situated because they have firm roots and so on. This is a manifestation of a firm and well situated Muladhara chakra, which is in the root. One step above the Muladhara chakra is the Swadhisthana chakra, which is what Srila Prabhupada is mentioning in the purport. Swadhisthana chakra is responsible as a storehouse of sexual energy or creative energy. It is the same. One step above the Swadhisthana chakra is called the Manipuraka chakra, which is right here in the navel. That particular chakra motivates one to act in society. So if you see someone being very dynamic, having like leadership skills, being able to manage things, that is because the Manipuraka chakra has a lot of power and it is well situated. So above the Manipuraka chakra in the heart is the Anahata chakra. It's called the Anahata. Anahata in the heart. And the throat above that is Vishuddha chakra. Between the eyebrows, Agya chakra, which is the third eye. Above that, the opening is called the Sahasrara, which is the 1,000-petal lotus, which is the highest point. The idea is that the lower chakras, which is the Muladhara, the Swadhisthana, and the Manipuraka, they contain all kinds of material contamination and material propensities and material desires, the lower chakras. So, the process of yoga, Ashtanga yoga, if it is not properly understood and if it is practiced without a proper meditation on the goal. And what is the goal of the yogi? The goal of the yogi, in one sense, is similar to the goal of the devotee, in the sense that Srila Rupa Goswami has given us the goal. He has given us Anya Bilashita Shunyam, Jnana Karmali Anavritam, Anukulena Krishna Anuchilanam Bhakti Uttama. He has given us the definition of Uttama Bhakti as being free from all desires of wanting to achieve and exist with material desires. Be completely free of all kinds of fruitive desires and to be completely free of the need for liberation. What is liberation? Let us understand liberation from our perspective. We understand material desires. Material desires is for us to be well situated. We want to have some sense gratification. There has to be wealth, and then there has to be power. We can understand material desires. But then it is difficult to understand liberation. Liberation, in reality, is when a devotee or a practitioner is completely free of desires for material enjoyment because he has received a lot of pain in that pursuit. Gyan. Gyan, knowledge. Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. Jnana Karmadi Anavritam is the word being used by Srila Rupa Goswami because Gyan means you come in touch with material energy and you become disappointed because material energy cannot give you anything. Then there's knowledge that this material nature is not for me. I must stop suffering, and to stop suffering, I must leave the material sky and go above. This is the motivation of the Jnani. So Srila Rupa Goswami is advising us that if you want to pursue the path given by Lord Chaitanya, you cannot have material desires, neither can you have a motivation of wanting to be completely free of the material sky and going above. No desires of either wanting to stop suffering or to enjoy with the material body. And we will explain further as we go on as to what our process is. The problem with a practitioner who has not received knowledge and who is not chanting the holy names and who has not purified their consciousness is that they have a lot of material desires. These material desires contaminate the Muladhara chakra, it contaminates the Swadhisthana, contaminates the Manipuraka. These chakras can be contaminated. There can be desires contaminating those chakras. When they artificially sit in yoga postures and they artificially want to chant mantras to push the energy up from the lower level to the higher level in an artificial way without purifying themselves of desires, they get into trouble. They get into trouble. What kind of trouble? If the Swadhisthana chakra, if the person has a lot of sexual desires, or they have sexual desires to some level, they are not purified. If they build up a lot of energy through the process of yoga, through the process of pranayama, through the process of blocking the certain areas and pushing up the life airs, which is what yogis are supposed to do, they will push a lot of energy into this particular chakra, Swadhisthana, and they become extraordinarily charged with sexual desires and they fall down. Or, if there are contaminations, if they have surpassed this level and they go to the next level of managing this universe, Manipuraka chakra, the navel, has the power for the person can develop the power to be able to manage things. If they have a desire, the sexual energy transforms itself and becomes a powerhouse above in the Manipuraka chakra. And if they don't want to engage in external sexual activity, they develop a deep desire for power. It is nothing but the same. It is the same energy. It is contaminating again. The need for sexual contact now becomes a need to control others and impose power. You see? So it is not something which is a big surprise. Because you see sometimes that there are very, very big devotees in the sense that there are very big sadhanas, the sadhakas. They give up everything. Jai Shri Shri Prahlad Maharaja ki. So if you notice the yogis, or sometimes you notice the swamis, they give up everything in the world, they go into a cave, and then they do some sadhana and they come out, and then when they come in touch with material energy, they fall down because the power has increased. It is still stuck here. It has not moved upwards. It is stuck in the lower region. And so is the case. Sometimes you find people are completely free from the so-called attachment to the opposite gender, but they have deep desires to control others, and they have deep desires to impose the power on others, and this is also a manifestation of contamination. It is also material energy. Okay. Now, there is great danger in artificially stimulating the lower chakras, the Muladhara and the Swadhisthana and Manipuraka, because that energy cannot be managed. It is Krishna's energy. You cannot manage it once it is released. People also develop instability in their minds. Sometimes we hear, unsolved diseases. For example, people are constantly fatigued. They're very tired. They're somewhat, overwhelmed. All of this is because of, in many cases, due to the movement of energy in the lower parts, and due to trauma, it gets displaced and people suffer due to it. So this process of artificially purifying themselves in the present age in Kali Yuga is dangerous. It is not possible. It's not possible. It is not. Contrast this with the process given by Lord Chaitanya. Look at the difference. The process given by Lord Chaitanya, it does not act on the lower region, it acts in the heart. We are constantly purifying our heart. And by purifying our desires, we are able to make advancement. The process is the same. Ultimately, we have to ascend and go to the top. The process is the same. But what is it that you do to attain the goal is very different. One is artificial, the other is a natural course, and it is extraordinarily powerful, and we are at the mercy of the predecessor Acharya, so it is very safe. No one gets into trouble by chanting Mahamantra. You can never hear that. So he chanted too much and he became something. No, he becomes wonderful if he chants too much. Yeah, there's no problem with chanting Mahamantra, because the Mahamantra, slowly, gradually, the process develops and attains. We first purify ourselves, and then we attain a relationship with Krishna. This is again spoken of by Srila Rupa Goswami. What is Srila Rupa Goswami's word? He says, Adav Shraddha, Tata Sadhu Sango, Bhajana Kriya, Anatta Nivrittihi, Nishta, Ruchi, Ashakti, Bhava, Prema. So these are the different stages we go through. So the first thing that we do in our process, we come in touch with sadhus. We come in touch with those who are practicing devotional service. When we come in touch with those who are practicing devotional service, they have immense faith. They have faith. Their faith in their hearts is so powerful that when they speak or when they come in touch with us, they take their faith from their heart and put it into our heart. This is Shraddha. This is faith. When you come in touch with devotees, they take their faith, advanced devotees, and they put it into our heart. How does it happen? Through sound. When they speak, the sound vibration of their faith, their Shraddha, enters into our ear and then goes into our heart. It shatters all misconceptions and we become peaceful. This is Shraddha. This is Shraddha. This is faith. Adav Shraddha. The first step is to fix ourselves with faith. So if you are amongst those who are practicing devotional service, they have faith and they have the ability to give faith. And if you're humble, then we receive it because we are a good container. And after receiving faith, we engage in the practice of worshipping the Lord, chanting, serving. This is our practice. It's a very simple, absolutely safe, extraordinarily protective, and the most appropriate practice for this particular age of Kali Yuga. Most appropriate. Most appropriate. The same process which the yogi experiences of purifying the lower existence and then arranging to slowly, steadily come up to the highest level of realization is experienced by us. but it is arranged naturally. It is not an artificial process. We don't need to pay attention to where the Manipuraka chakra is. We don't need to pay attention to where the Muladhara chakra is. We don't need to pay attention to anything in the subtle body. We just need to be able to chant, serve, and then have a humble demeanor so that we can receive information, we can receive knowledge and guidance from the Guru. Our process is straightforward and most appropriate for this age, because the atmosphere is contaminated. The atmosphere is contaminated. Our bodies are not well situated. We don't have longevity. Neither do we have the ability to concentrate. All of this has been accounted for by Lord Chaitanya. When Lord Chaitanya introduced the process, what did he say? He said, chant. And then there was one more rule given. What is the process? Our process is a little different. Lord Chaitanya just gave us two things. He said chant, the Mahamantra, and then he gave us a process on how to live life. You see, it's very important for the sadhaka, the practitioner, to know what to do and to also lead life and to be able to manage life according to principles given by the acharyas. It's very important. Our principles are very simple, straightforward, everybody can understand it. So there are two steps. One is to chant. And what is it which Lord Chaitanya told us as a very important prayer? Anybody? What is it which Lord Chaitanya gave us in the 6th Shashtakam? In the 8 prayers given by Lord Chaitanya, what is the prayer? Trinadapi sunichena taroriva sahishnuna amani manadena kirtane sadahari. Now what does that verse mean? It essentially means that you chant, and when you chant nicely and when you call upon the holy names, when you come across circumstances in life, you tolerate those circumstances. You become humble and tolerate the circumstances. Accept the circumstances of life by tolerating the circumstances and becoming humble. Chant, accept the circumstances. And I will tell you exactly in a few minutes as to why that is very important. That is our process. We don't really fight to such an extent where we get agitated about life. To some level, there is a need for surrender. We accept life as it is. So we make our best attempt to improve our situation, ultimately accepting the results as given by Krishna. This is Trinadapi Sunichena, where we constantly accept the results given by Krishna, saying that I have made my attempt, I have done my best, but Krishna, this is what you have given me, I accept it. So when you constantly accept life, after making your best attempt as being given by Krishna, even if your life is being arranged by your karmic reactions, because you are thinking Krishna, you are arranging it, it will become so. Krishna will come into the picture if you think Krishna is arranging it. It's a trick. It's a very nice trick. So you can buy some apples from the market for a few euros. Is that spiritual? Is the apple spiritual? No, it's material. When you buy from the store, it is material. It is just fruits. You pay some euros, you buy a few dozen apples. And you bring those apples and you offer it to Lord Nrsingadev. Now once you offer it to Krishna, once you offer it to Lord Nrsingadev, has it become spiritual? Yes. Simple process. What did we do? We took material, we added Krishna, it became spiritual. In a similar fashion, we will chant with deep absorption. When life gives challenges, we will try our very best to mitigate and to manage it. And ultimately, all the time, we will also accept that this is Krishna's arrangement. It may not be Krishna's arrangement, this is our karmic reaction. It may not be Krishna's arrangement, it is our karmic reaction. But if you involve Krishna, then it becomes Krishna's arrangement. And wonderful things happen, even if it is just our karmic reaction, by just accepting that Krishna, this is your arrangement. So I'm going to accept it. I'm going to accept it. I'm not going to fight it. I'm going to try my best to make the best arrangement out, but I'm going to accept it. This is our system. We chant sincerely. When we are chanting sincerely, we are asking the divine couple, saying, please engage me in your service. Please engage me in your service. The divine couple, Shri Radha Krishna, they're looking down upon us. This person wants to engage in my service. Let's look at his life. This has to change. This has to change. This habit has to be dropped. That has to happen. This has to happen. Only then will he be able to engage in our service. So changes begin when we chant sincerely. If you're chanting sincerely, changes, positive changes begin. And every change is to improve and situate us in better service. If we accept it in that mood and continue endeavoring to be in the association of devotees and serve sincerely and also chant sincerely, then our path is a sure success. This is our path. Our path is Trinadapi Sunichena along with Harinam. Harinam, Trinadapi Sunichena. See, there is a big, big secret in Krishna consciousness. It's quite complicated, and I will tell you what the secret is. Because we are expected to act in this world, Krishna expects us to think that everything is dependent on us. We have to act as if everything is dependent on us. This is my responsibility, so I have to do my best. But then we also have to understand that after doing our best, we still accept results from Krishna. We still accept results from Krishna. So we do our best and accept results which Krishna gives. Now let us look at an example, because Lord Nrsimhadev is here with Prahlad Maharaj. We must glorify Prahlad Maharaj for the simple reason that for someone who had taken up the process of sincerely adhering and following the instructions given by his guru, Sri Narad Muni. What was the instruction of Sri Narad Muni? Chant. Chant the holy names. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So, he was asked to chant. That was the instruction. Now, let us look at the different circumstances. Did he have intelligence? Did he have intelligence? He was a 5-year-old, so it is said that at the age of 5, intelligence is not fully developed. Yeah? It is almost fully developed, but intelligence is not fully developed. He was born in a demoniac family. Is that an advantage? To be born in a family of demons, so that you could chant nicely? No advantage. There is no advantage of age. There is no advantage of birth. There is no advantage. Look at the surrounding. He is surrounded by people who are completely against the object of his love. He loves Krishna. He is surrounded by people who hate Krishna. Can you imagine the circumstance? He's 5 years old, born in a demon family, and then he's surrounded by people who are bad association by any count. And what does he do? He is abused by his father, which is the biggest trauma any child can go through, is to come in touch with authority who is supposed to protect them, and the authority instead abuses them. This is heavy trauma. Prahlad Maharaj is abused by his father. So now you have very young, 5 years old, born in a demoniac family, so there is no lineage or ancestry to claim that I come from a good family. No, he doesn't have that credit. He is surrounded by people who hate Krishna, no association, but he has the instructions of his guru in his heart. You must chant. Because he is a child, he is able to accept the instruction, he is not really questioning. It is a great advantage to be a child. Have you seen children? When you give them something, they learn, they don't question, and they practice with full faith. He was a child, so that was a great advantage in one sense, because he didn't really question too much. The guru gave him orders, he chanted. He did not apply his own intelligence and say that I have a bad father, I am born from a bad lineage, I have bad friends, and as a consequence there are so many negatives, so Gurudev, I cannot follow your process. He didn't do that. He was a child. He accepted it. He accepted it. After accepting it, he was tortured. And what are the circumstances in which he chanted? See, the definition of a sadhu in the Harinam Chintamani given by Haridas Thakur is that the primary lakshana, the primary quality of a sadhu is complete dependence on the holy name. This is the primary qualification of a sadhu. Other good qualities of softness in nature, being free from desires, all of this comes as tatastha lakshana, secondary characteristics. The primary characteristics is complete dependence on the holy name. In this particular pastime of the Supreme Lord, his devotee displayed complete dependence on the holy name under all circumstances. So this is an extraordinary pastime because he is completely dependent on the holy name. Through all kinds of challenges, he chants. Krishna is nama, naminoho, abhinnatvam. There is no difference between Krishna and his nam. So when Prahlad Maharaja was calling upon nam, Krishna manifest. He was there at all circumstances to save him because there's no difference. What did Krishna do? This is a very special incarnation of the Lord. Lord Nrsimhadev is super special. He's very special. Why is so special? Because the Lord appeared. First of all, let us look at the circumstances. Does everybody agree that the circumstances before the Lord appeared was very intense? Yes? Very intense, very, very difficult circumstances? Yeah? Yeah, please understand. Normally, when you surrender to Lord Nrsimhadev's Rupa, your circumstances initially will be like this. Then he will appear. This is normal in the Nrsimhadev Rupa. For devotees who are dedicated to worshipping the Lord in his Nrsimha Rupa, the beauty is, he personally will appear, he will change all circumstances and begin offering for complete protection for chanting of the holy names. He will appear. It is very special. We don't need to do any planning. We just need to surrender like Prahlad Maharaja did and say, please take care of us and follow the instructions of Guru. He will make all the changes. What did the Lord do when he appeared? He killed Hiranyakashipu and he sat on the throne. Krishna never does this. Krishna never sits on the throne after killing a demon. Have you ever seen in the Srimad Bhagavatam where Krishna is sitting on the throne? Lord Nrsimhadev kills Hiranyakashipu, he sits on the throne. Why does he do it? Because the supreme time factor, Mahakala, that is Lord Nrsimhadev. The supreme time factor is Lord Nrsimhadev in the spiritual sky. In the material sky, his servant Lord Shiva manages time as Mahakala. Rudra manages time as Mahakala. In the spiritual sky, his master is Lord Nrsimhadev. Who manages the environment in the kingdom? Who is responsible for the environment in the kingdom? Who? The king, isn't it? Because the government, the king, can make rules, and those rules, we have to follow those rules. So the time factor, we are imposed upon by the government, we are imposed upon by the king, because the king says, these are the rules, you have to follow these rules. And we have to, as residents of a kingdom, follow the rules. So the king controls time. That is why in Srimad Bhagavatam, the king is equated to God. Because he controls the time, he controls the environment, he controls the money system, he controls the, he can order someone to be killed, he controls the longevity of a person, the king. So he's considered to be the time factor in the kingdom. That is why the Srimad Bhagavatam scripture equates the king to be the time factor. What does the Lord do? He says, if you want to chant, and if you want to chant peacefully, I will come and I will remove the king to give you a peaceful environment, if I have to. Isn't it amazing? He comes and he says, I will change the time factor. I am the supreme time factor. If the king is the local time factor, I will change. The Lord manifests his mercy and he changes the local time factor, the king. He sits on the throne. Now I am the time factor. I'm going to give you protection. He's sitting on the throne here. He is sitting on the throne here. He's saying, I'm the time factor. Now, you sit and you chant, you have my protection. Isn't it amazing that this is the pastime where it is very unusual, where the Lord comes and he says, even if the rulers oppose you, I will come and I will protect you. You chant. if you want to chant, all protection is available from me. He came to protect Nama. He came to protect the sadhana of calling upon the holy names. So it is most appropriate for a sadhaka who is wanting to call upon Harinam to also worship Lord Nrsimhadev, because he protects.
chanten will, der muss auch Nrsimhadev verehren, weil verteidigt, weil schützt.
So this is very important for us to understand, that our mood is not so much to try to artificially engage in the yoga process without qualification. Our process is to follow the instructions given by the predecessor acharyas, purify our senses by bringing them in touch with Krishna, and by doing so also calling upon the holy name, accepting the circumstances. Trinadapi sunichena tarori vasaishnuna. And where does Krishna say he will protect? There is a verse here in Bhagavad Gita. It is actually 9.22. One moment, I'm sorry. Yeah, 9.22. He says, Ananyas chintayanto mam ye janaha pariyupashate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam yamamyam. Now what is the translation? But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. So Krishna is making a promise in the Bhagavad Gita that if you dedicate yourself to chanting of the holy names, I will carry what you lack and I will preserve what you have. What does this mean, dear devotees? What does it mean? What does this verse mean? Anybody? What does this mean? Does it mean Krishna is going to look into our hearts and say that this devotee needs a new car, so I will make arrangements for a new car? Or this devotee needs a new house, so we'll make some arrangement for a new house? Or this devotee requires something, so I will make the arrangement. Does it mean that? No? Okay? No? How many no's? Okay? What does this mean? This verse means, when Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, I will carry what you lack and I will preserve what you have. Devotees, isn't this the truth? That Krishna has already given us what we need. That is what Krishna is saying here. At any given time, at any given minute in your life, if you are a sincere follower of the scriptures, of chanting the holy names, Krishna is preserving and he is carrying what we lack at any given time. Look at yourself in the mirror and then say to yourself, Krishna, whatever circumstances I have today is exactly what I need for me to be a better servant. That is what this verse means. Krishna has already preserved, he is already carrying what we lack. Look at the mirror and accept life. This is Trinadapi Sunichena. This is being able to accept the circumstances and being able to call upon. Prahlad Maharaja, at any and every given step, he never questioned or doubted the Lord's arrangement. He accepted, he accepted, he accepted. Someone gave him a snake, he thought it's a flower, it became a flower garden. Yeah? Someone gave him kheer with poison, it was completely free from poison, no effect. He was pushed from a mountain, he falls in a bed of flowers, Krishna catches him. At any given time, Krishna is saying, I will preserve what you have and I will carry what you lack. At any given time, we need to chant with this understanding. This is the understanding with which we need to chant. We really cannot compromise on this understanding. Otherwise, we are constantly speculating, thinking Krishna has not done his job. I am chanting 16 rounds, I am coming for the morning program, I am doing seva, I am doing everything. Krishna, you are not doing your job. I have this problem, I have that problem. Krishna, you are not doing your job. No, Krishna is saying, I am doing my job.
Aber Krishna ist
Your life
ich mache meinen Job.
is being preserved and I'm carrying everything that you lack exactly the way it should be. The moment we accept it, it will become Krishna's arrangement. Life is complex because we have taken wrong decisions. 20 years back, some of you are probably very young, but 20 years back, 10 years back, did we really desire to chant the holy names and pure name? No. So since we did not desire 20 years back, 10 years back to chant the holy name, what we are today is based on the desires that we had 20 years back. Because today we are an aggregate of all our desires. All the different arrangements we have made is an aggregate of all our desires. We are today a sum total of our desires of the past. 20 years back, did we desire of wanting to engage in Shuddhanam Bhajan? We did not. Because if we had desired, then today there will be no problems. If you're facing challenges, it's because we didn't desire properly. So it's very important for us to understand the verse of Sri Rupa Goswami. Anya Vilashita Shunyam, Jnana Karmari Anavritam, Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam, Bhakti Uttaman. See, our process requires three things. Understand the goal, Anya Vilashita Shunyam, Jnana Karmari Anavritam, Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam, Bhakti Uttaman. Understand how to proceed, Trinada Pisunishena, keep accepting life, and then praying to Krishna. Doesn't mean that we should not act. It does not mean we should not act. We should make our attempt to make improvements, but ultimately accept the results given by Krishna. And then chant the holy names. This process is so powerful, it is so extraordinary that all kinds of positive changes will occur for a sincere chanter to enable them to chant. In this particular pastime of Prahlad Maharaj and Lord Nrsimhadev, the Lord is displaying proof that the challenges can be insurmountable and He will intervene. Our challenges are not like Prahlad Maharaj. Yeah? We don't have that kind of a challenge. Our challenge is there. Devotees, as human beings being in the material sky, we all face challenges. Everybody faces challenges at different levels. There's no doubt. But how to resolve those challenges? We sincerely chant and we accept the challenges as being arranged by Krishna, and then with courage we endeavor to make changes to the best of our ability. But we keep acting. This is our process. This is displayed by Prahlad Maharaj. Constant endeavor. Okay, this is my circumstance, that is my feedback. This is the circumstance, that is my feedback. Make a few changes. He tried talking, he tried explaining to his father, he tried bringing sense to his devotees, the people who were surrounding him. He kept making changes to the circumstance to the best of his ability. But ultimately he accepted the environment as given by Krishna. This is the powerful, powerful example of Prahlad Maharaj. So I'll stop here and I'll quickly summarize. So we started out by looking at the Ashtanga Yoga process. This particular verse relates to it. And then we looked at the simplicity of the process given to us by Prabhupada. And then we looked at the process itself. Our process is to chant the holy names and then perform sadhana and existence with the mood of Trinada Pisunishena, Taro Riva Sahishvara. What is that mood? Being able to accept the circumstances of life as arranged by Krishna, acting upon it with courage like Prahlad Maharaj did, constantly calling out the holy names. If you desire wanting to chant Shuddhanam, the circumstances and the environment for wanting to chant Shuddhanam will manifest itself in the future. If we come in the presence of the Lord with all kinds of other desires, those desires could manifest as well. But they can never grant us the situation required to chant Shuddhanam. So please be careful in wanting to ask for circumstances. The best desire to have is to chant Shuddhanam, to chant the pure name of Krishna. I will stop here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any questions, please? Any comments? Yes, Prabhu. And what's your name? I'm sorry. Haribol.
Hi, Krishna Prabhu. Thank you so much for your class. It was really very well structured and it was so straightforward. And I really appreciated your glorification of your Nrsimhadev.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
I have a question. You spoke, at the beginning you spoke about the 8 steps of Ashtanga Yoga. And then you said how the first step is following the social, moral codes. And how the second step is following the rules and regulations.
Niyama. Niyama. So for example, we have niyama in our practice, and the whole idea of our practice is that we have to be situated in the mode of goodness so that we could take off from the mode of goodness. So our practice requires that we have certain ways of eating, so we completely abstain from eating, meat and anything which is non-vegetarian. We also have complete freedom from intoxication, complete freedom from illicit sex and gambling, because all of this practically moves us away from the mode of goodness. So in a similar fashion, the Ashtanga Yogi has niyama to help them situate themselves in a certain spot. So there's a parallel here. I do not know the specific rules and regulations which the Ashtanga Yogi had to follow. I'm not clear of that because I didn't study it. But I do know that it is a parallel to what we do in terms of maintaining a certain internal poise.
So my question is,
Sorry.
Is that mean that the practitioner of Ashtanga Yoga had first to control his senses and then start with practicing asana and pranayama?
No, there were basic levels because you're looking at the context of Satya Yuga. In the context of Satya Yuga, they had to have some good qualities for them to even pursue that path. They could not just go into that path without having those qualities. So what is expected of them at that point in time was to have a simple, singular focus on wanting to attain the goal and also wanting to be able to free themselves from societal obligations, be able to isolate themselves without company. These were all requirements those days of wanting to be able to do that. So there were certain rules and regulations which they had to follow simply as a basic tool. It is not that they were able to control their senses, but to make an attempt to control their senses, they had to be in an environment. For example, in our temples we have the Brahmacharya ashram. The Brahmacharya ashram has certain rules and regulations to be followed. There's a certain time to go to bed, there's a certain time to wake up, there's a certain kind of dress habit and so on and so forth. So these are basic rules. So when someone comes into the Brahmacharya ashram and becomes Brahmachari after some practice, it does not mean that we are completely able to control our senses, but we are in the beginning following certain steps which will eventually lead to our ability to purify and control our senses. So in that fashion there are rules and regulations. So that was a beginning. Niyama is a beginning, it is not an advanced stage. But they had to follow some niyama. For example, when you want to perform asana, you can't eat so much in a night. You have to abstain. You can only eat a certain kind of food. So it has to be roots, it has to be naturally arranged. The reason why they used to naturally arrange, in other words, accept things which are available from the forest, was because there were no karmic reactions. They used to simply accept whatever was available. So these were all some simple rules in which they could situate themselves before they could move forward. So these are niyama. Very tough in certain cases. Yeah, we are very fortunate Prabhupada did not give us such rules. He just gave us chanting of the holy names, which is amazing. Did I answer your question to any extent? Yeah, very good. Is there any other question? Comment? Lord Nrsingadev clears all our minds and looks like all our doubts get vanquished just by his presence. So, Sri Yoga Nrsimhadev Bhagavan ki. If there are no more questions, we'll end here. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Sri Vrindavan Prabhu ki